Hey everybody, this is Kevin and Luis Diaz, the winner of last month's song, Where It All Comes From, a mix from Randy and Sherry Miller. And as promised, this is the interview with Luis to find out if he has any secret ninja tricks he can teach us. Luis, thank you for agreeing to do this, and beautiful mix, man. It really was a good mix.
Oh, thank you, and thank you for the opportunity, and thank you to everybody at MixCoach. I hope they can understand with my accent.
Well, before we get started with all the geeky details about everything that you
Uh-huh.
used, I was on the forum last night, and I was honestly moved by how supportive this community is. Everybody came by and congratulated you, patted you on the back, and you were thanking everybody for thanking you, and it was just, I don't know, there was a moment there when I was just like, this is awesome. I love this
It is.
community.
It's really amazing.
Yeah,
I've never seen such a thing, really.
yeah.
So,
I'm proud to be a part of this community.
absolutely.
Okay, before we get all
And I have no.
mushy and before I get all mushy and emotional and stuff, let's talk about details. I mean, tell me, was there any? How did you go about this mix? Tell me everything you feel comfortable telling me about how you
Okay,
mixed it.
well, first, I've learned most of my mixing stuff from you, and I like for the members at MixCoach to know that. I took the mixing like a pro course with
Uh huh.
you, and everything, you know. So anyway, the way I approached it was I just first listened to the raw tracks as they were, and I just it was incredible to start with.
Yeah.
And from there, I had seen the video with Randy where you guys were talking about what he wanted and
Hmm.
how it was tracked and all kinds of things, and I had an idea of what he was looking for, and then so I started listening to some of the what's the name?
The references, Taylor Swift, and
Taylor Swift. Yes,
right.
yes. And so, I listened for a while back and forth to the raw tracks and, this whole idea of getting that kind of sound.
Well, let me ask
And
you this,
so
Louis.
it
I
all
mean,
started from there. And
well,
once I started setting levels, it started.
right. Well, let me ask you this. After you heard the interview with Randy and you figured out where he was coming from and what he was looking for, had you mixed any before then?
No,
Okay.
no. I had
So,
not. Uh, Actually, I was not going to work on it because I was in the middle of another project,
hmm
and I didn't think I would have time. But then, it was kind of a last minute thing, and so I just heard that interview, and I said I should try this really.
yeah.
So,
But we're all
hmm
glad you did. It was. I loved
thanks.
that the track was really hot. If I can offer one of the common things that I found throughout the all the others mixes,
Hmm.
not every one, but there seemed to be a couple of uh, underlying things that it seemed like a lot of people overlooked. And
Hmm.
I understand everybody. Not everybody has a lot of experience mixing more than one lead vocalist, which that was the case.
Hmm.
One was that the everybody thought that Randy had the lead all the way through,
Right.
which maybe I should looking back, maybe I should have been more clear about that. But again, I'm still new to this too. The second thing was everybody was using a lot of bus compression. I mean, you could
Hmm.
almost hear at some points when I mentioned it. When I ask about the bus compression, usually it's because there's a lot of it and it's very noticeable. It's almost like someone asking you who tuned the vocals. You
Right.
really you really don't want anybody asking that.
Hmm.
Or what did you trigger the drums with? Because then it's kind of obvious. But the thing about your
Right.
mix is it didn't sound like it was very very compressed. How did you treat the bus compressor?
Well, first, when I opened the session, I noticed that the kick drum and the bass and the snare were either tracked with limiter or they were compressed already.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the first cue. I'm like, I don't need to do a lot to this mix really.
Mm-hmm.
And then I use this API. Okay, first I mix into the APR 102, the mastering tape.
Mm-hmm.
It's a plugin from UAD, Universal Audio.
Wow.
I think I told you one time to try it. You'll love it. So there's some tape compression happening, and it sounds really natural. And then I also threw an API, but only doing like maybe 2 dB compression.
So on the tubas, it was an API what?
The compressor?
Yeah.
That was the API 2500.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. That's the waves. It's a really nice and clean compressor, excellent for bus compression. I learned that. I think I got the whole idea of using that particular one from the guy that mixes Taylor Swift, and I just love the sound.
Right.
I think it really served the song. So.
Is that the only bus compressor you used?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I didn't use a lot.
Okay.
No. Actually, when I finalized the thing to send the MP3, I did use just the L2, Waves L2, just to it wasn't doing any limiting at all. It was just to keep it safe at -1 dB, because I thought, just to keep it from distorting as an MP3.
Now, you set the output to -1, or you set the to where you were knocking down 1 dB?
No, just I set the output to -1, and I just left everything else alone.
Yeah.
So it was pretty hard because I mixed into the tape, the ATR 102. Then it was hard enough, and I really didn't have to do a lot of limiting, honestly. So that right there,
so the signal path
was the job for me.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you didn't use a limiter. I would say probably a good rule of thumb for everyone listening on the next one is if you use a limiter on the master bus, make sure that it's not working hardly at all. I mean, the light should barely come on if it comes on at all. Would you agree?
Absolutely, definitely.
Yeah. Because
I'll leave that to a mastering engineer.
Right, exactly. And usually, if you don't do that, usually you will automatically leave your mastering engineer with some room to go. And you said that your output was at -1. Did you? What particular reason did you use that? Is that?
I find that when doing MP3 stuff, I don't know, but I think it translates better. When I do it at -0.3, I don't know. It just it does something to my ear.
Right.
I don't know what it is. I hear some stuff that I don't know what it is. And when I do -1 whole dB, it sounds more open, I guess.
Right.
It doesn't sound like it's affecting as much.
Right.
Even if it was 1 or 2 dB,
right.
you cannot feel it really.
Right. So how long total did you spend on your mix, Louis?
About 2 hours.
2 hours. Did you purposely set out to just mix for 2 hours? Did you purposely? Did you mean to just say, okay, I'm going to only mix this for 2 hours, or did it just happen to be 2 hours long?
Well, I actually, like I said, I was in the middle of another project, and so that's all the time I had.
Okay.
It was like at midnight, late night.
That's as good a reason to spend 2 hours as any reason I've heard.
But I think, like I said, the tracks were so good already, and I think I was able to get a feel of what the intentions were, and that helped a lot,
Right.
It really did. So
well, let's go over some of the other tracks. How much limiting on each track did you use? Did you use subgroups, and did you compress those? I mean, it sounds like it. The beautiful thing about your mix was that it sounded very loud, but it didn't sound processed at all.
Right, and I actually did not use much compression. Like for the drums, I send them to a drum bus, and I just put the DSP analog channel. The 202 is like a tape thing, so that get that for me. And the snare I did compress a little bit just to get the kind of fat sound that I was looking for. But I worked mostly with automation, and I think that was the key for me. You know, I did listen to every single track separately, especially the guitars and the mandolin, to see what these guys were playing, because there were lots of special moments that if they were compressed, then you would miss them very easily. You know, they would get buried, if that makes sense at all. So I used mostly automation to keep everything, you know, moving and, you know, with compressed. And if you listen to the sections separately, like the verses and the choruses and it all, I kind of, let me see, I kept the mix moving. So I don't know if that makes sense at all.
Yeah.
But again, I did not use a lot of compressor. Let me see, I have a picture here on my screen. Let me open it real quick of my desktop. I used in total probably about 15 plugins in total, you know.
Okay.
Not 15 different plugins, but about 15 instances, or how do you call it?
Yeah. Okay.
So it was mainly the SSL channel, mainly for EQ. Then in Randy's voice, I only used the Renaissance EQ and the Renaissance Vox, you know, one for vocals. And that was it.
Wow.
I used the stock reverb from Pro Tools. Let me close this here.
What was the last one you used?
Really, I kept it. Which one?
You dropped out there for the last couple of minutes. After you said you used the RVox on Randy's vocal, then it got a little unclear. So start there one more time.
Yeah. Then the reverb, you know, the stock reverb that comes with Pro Tools. That was it. And I only use like a mono return for Sherry's vocal.
Okay.
That's a trick I learned from Justin Neobank. I don't know how you pronounce his last name, but the guy that I'm pretty sure you know him personally, probably. The guy.
No.
He's the Taylor Swift. He's right there in Nashville somewhere.
Oh yeah, his assistant that does a lot of assisting for him and now mixing lives here in Murfreesboro, which is my town. But I've yet to meet him. I would like to meet him. But Justin Neobank's mixes are stellar. They are awesome.
It's really amazing.
Yeah.
So I got a trick from him. Using the mono reverb for the lead vocal, just still give it the ambience, but keep it focused instead of, you know. Usually I just go through a stereo reverb, no matter what. But this one I just use the mono, and I think it did the job, you know.
Well, I have to go back and I have to listen. I have to listen to your mix again now because I didn't realize there was a mono reverb on there. But that's. There's a discussion going on now about stereo delay, and I've noticed that when I use delay and it's wide, it's distracting to me, and I've never considered that possibly a stereo reverb might do the same thing. I may have to try that sometime too.
Yeah. I I tried it, and I really like the idea. It really keeps the lead vocal focused, you know. But you know, the verb kind of sounds a little bit cleaner, and it's all because of that, you know. So
wow.
But like I said, I'm not against. Most of the times I do use a mono send into a stereo return, you know, a reverb, and it kind of opens things up a little bit, and I really like that too. So.
You know, I just had a thought while you were talking about that. I think it's pretty healthy actually to go about a mix the way you did, where it's like, oh, by the way, there's a DA-40 that just flew over my house.
Wow.
I noticed. I think he's in the pattern. I'm close to the pattern to the airport here.
Wow.
If you don't know, me and Louis both share a love of flying. He's a pilot with, I don't know how many hours you have.
I have like probably 500, somewhere around that.
You've got more hours than I
once in a
do.
while. Because
Anyway,
I was going for commercial, but I never got there.
okay. Well,
So,
you just may have a career in mixing. Let's see, what were we
uh,
talking about?
we're talking
Uh,
about the delay.
here's the
You know,
thought. When you mentioned that, I think it's probably a healthy attitude to say, okay, this mix gets 2 hours, or this mix gets a limited amount of time, and it could be two 1 hour sessions, or one 2 hour session, or four 30-minute sessions. But I think, and I'm
hmm
getting that you kind of did this. It's like, I'm going to try this. If it don't work, it don't work. I'm going to try this. If it don't work, it don't work. I'm not going to load it up, a vocal up with tons of plugins and just put it out there and release it into the wild, as a
hmm
mix. And I think, putting it away and then just saying that's the best I can do in the time and the ideas that I have right now, and just let your mix go. I think a lot of people want to obsess, and I know that you need to do it to learn, but I think people almost obsess to a point of diminishing returns on mixes.
right,
I mean,
right.
I can tell sometimes when somebody, and I've done it before, to where I would obsess over a mix, and when I go back and
Mm-hmm.
listen to it, I think the love is gone. I don't like this mix at all anymore, and I think it would
uh,
probably have been a better mix had I just said 1 hour, 1 hour and a
right,
half, or two 1 hour sessions on this mix. I think that would have been
right.
plenty. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
hmm
So,
Yeah, and it's like the other day I was watching an interview with Manny Marroquin. He's a big guy. He mixes like Alicia Keys and all these people, and he was talking about, and I found interesting on learning what not to do,
right.
and
Mm-hmm.
and what not to mess with. There's sometimes like in this mix, I did not touch at all the B3. I just didn't do anything to it.
Right. Right.
It was just fine the way it was. You know what I mean?
Right.
I didn't touch the overheads other than fixing the phase issues and the
Right.
misalignment and all that. I didn't touch the room mic, and there were a couple of things that I left alone really because they were just great and they
Yeah.
actually helped the mix. And another little trick that I did use was the half effect. Using the delay with different times as opposed to using panning. And I did that in the acoustic guitar and the mandolin, and that opened up things too.
You said
Uh,
half effects?
Haas, HAAS, Haas.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. We did you did an article on MixCoach, the other
Mm-hmm.
website, about
Yeah.
that. Maybe I'll need to link to
And
that on this. Yeah, I think I was not even aware of the Haas effect or the Haas effect
mm-hmm.
until you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned it. And what did you use it on, the acoustic guitar? You said you used the Haas effect on the
Yes,
acoustic
and the mandolin.
and the
Mm-hmm.
mandolin.
And mandolin.
Okay.
So it
Okay.
just opened up this huge space. Those two instruments were fighting the heavy electric guitars. You know what
Right.
I mean?
I think a lot of
So.
people featured the mandolin more than what I would have tasted. More than my taste.
Mm-hmm.
I think I may not have even used the mandolin had I mixed it or I would have used it lightly. But
Yeah, I kept this one kind of, underneath for the most part,
hmm
but again, I did use automation because there were just a couple of spots that you could tell
hmm
the mandolin player was trying to make some kind of statement, rhythmically at least.
hmm
And just like I learned from you, mixing for the moms, I
yeah.
wanted to make sure that his mom heard it too.
Well, good. And mixing for the moms is something that's in the Mix Like a Pro class too, which I probably need to queue back up and let people check it out.
Yeah,
But yeah.
absolutely. And if we talk about that a little bit, like the guitar work again, most of the mixes I listen to from other members, sound to me like, well, most of the ones I listen to. I'm not saying like all of them,
Right.
but I noticed that once they set the level of the guitar tracks, they left them alone, and I can tell because certain parts did not come out really. That were really cool parts. Like in the second verse, one of the guitars is playing like this rhythmic muted feel, and it has a delay on it. It was printed like that, and I said, well, this is really cool. Gotta bring it up. You know what I mean? And again, mixing for the moms.
Yeah. So did just curious.
The three feelings and stuff. Anyway.
Well, I'm just curious. This is the last question, and I'm about to be invaded by bugs. See the bug?
Oh, okay.
So I'm getting a little freaked out here. Let's wrap up this interview. Did you ride the electric guitars
I did.
without the lead vocals in?
No. I actually, you know what I did was actually, since I noticed that the drums had so much energy, I actually mixed the drums and the vocals first, and then I started adding stuff on top of that.
Wow,
So
that's
I
cool.
made sure. Yeah, I made sure that the vocals and the drums were like happy with each other before I threw in anything else. And I had heard Randy said that he didn't like his vocals up front in that particular kind of style.
Wow.
So I took that seriously.
Well, it sounds like all the decisions you made. I'm trying. If you wondered why I'm moving around, I'm being invaded by bugs over there. So, well, that's interesting. I'm going to definitely take another listen to your mix, and with all this stuff in mind. But Louis, thank you for taking a few minutes out. I know you've been busy today, and we've been kind of playing phone tag back and forth. But thank you for taking the time to do this, and I hope this helps everybody. Thanks again, Louis, and I'll see you on the forum. Okay.
We'll see you around. Thank you, Kevin. Bye-bye.
Bye.